Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of B Chat. Hope you guys are going to find this content interesting and useful. First episode was just kind of saying hi. This next episode, I'm hopefully going to try to provide some good stuff and some stuff that people may want to actually listen to. But it is a little weird. I realized just doing a podcast solo. I've listened to some solo podcasts, but I didn't realize how awkward it can be just literally sitting by myself talking into my iPhone. But I also feel like it's kind of one of the most purest forms of content. And if this is something that people like, then it's pretty awesome because I really don't need much to do this. But yeah, today's Tuesday, March 10th. I recorded my first episode a few days ago, but I didn't upload it yet because I think just a little nervous, and I'm still trying to see what's the best, websites and stuff to get started on. Still trying to figure all that out, RSS feeds and all that jazz. If any of you are doing podcasts, you probably know what's up. But yeah, today I was thinking. Today I was at work, and I've had this conversation with a lot of people about happiness, and that's like such a big buzzword, but it's something that regardless of people's age, I mean, unless they're like a really little kid, it's a really triggering topic. Like even just to go up to someone and be like, yo, are you happy? Like most people will either say yes, a very few, you know what I mean? Or if they say no, that's kind of weird, but like very, very few people actually think about what that word means and what they're saying when they say that they're happy. And I've given this a lot of thought, just because, I think it's really interesting, and I think a lot of other people do as well. But I also come from a background where my family's from a different culture than where I was raised. And growing up, I minimized that a lot. I didn't think it was a big deal until I was in my 20s, and then I realized, oh shit, no, this is something I need to address, because I saw a lot of issues in me, and a lot of people like my friends that have similar backgrounds. We all kind of have the same. It's weird. We all have the same strengths, and we also all have the same weaknesses, and it's not a coincidence. And that's when it started clicking that, ooh, okay, something's going on here. So anyways, the reason why I bring that up is because I've realized that a lot of different societies and a lot of different cultures have a very different approach to being happy. And you guys probably all know this, that you've all heard the cliche where you can be broke, but there's people in India that don't even have X, Y, and Z. They struggle every night just to put food on the table, but they're happy. And then you have millionaires in America who are on antidepressants and have anxiety and all this stuff. So it makes you kind of think a lot, because if I'm from both cultures, so for me it's kind of like a personal thing where I'm like, oh shit, I don't know, I always felt like a kind of a personal interest and responsibility to kind of figure that out. To put it simply, why is a poor person in India or Pakistan happy as opposed to a rich person in the United States? And I've gone through both phases. So I've basically realized that although happiness is a huge buzzword. So I think I just said that already, but it's like when people say they're happy, it's like, what do they mean? And what I've come to the realization, at least in America, because this was where I've lived most of my life, my whole life actually, it literally comes down to lack of stress. So what I've realized is that people who are happy in their life, their perception of stress is way different than people who are unhappy, regardless of the variables, regardless of how much, because that takes money out of the picture, that takes your family out of the picture, that takes everything out of the picture, which is how it should be. That's how you should assess happiness, because things can't necessarily make you happy, in my opinion. So stress is a stimuli. When you're stressed, it's something that is being put on you, and the way you perceive it pretty much determines if you're happy or not. So what does that mean? I like using a lot of examples and analogies because it just makes things easier. But I'll give you a really easy example of like a lot of people who are overweight struggle to lose weight, whether it's for health reasons or just for aesthetics. Like they want a six pack, they want to look better. If you look at like the weight loss industry and gyms, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, even though everybody knows how to do it. You got to diet, exercise, grind. It takes hard work, takes time, takes patience, but you got to stay consistent. But it's a multi billion-dollar industry. There's so much marketing behind it because they're trying to sell this idea of if you lose weight, you'll be happy. But the example I'm going to try to give you is that there are the people who I realize who are like the fattest, like not to sound mean, but the people who I realize who are overweight, and I have some people who are very, very close to me who are overweight and they've always struggled to lose weight. But the thing that I realized is their perception of hunger is really, really bad. Like those, like certain people in my life who are overweight, and specifically not just overweight, but they're not happy with being overweight. They want to lose weight. When they get hungry, literally, like when they feel hungry, it's a bad thing. It's a negative thing. And this pretty much can come from a multiple like variety of reasons, the way you were raised, your culture, just any of your friends, like just TV, messaging, whatever. But to spin it like in a way that kind of shows you the opposite, like for example, in like the Muslim or the Muslim tradition, there's an entire month where you're supposed to fast. So that means you don't eat all day, you don't drink water all day, and you can eat and drink at night and really early in the morning. The point is that if most people that haven't done that, when they hear that, they're like, oh, damn, that fucking sucks. Like, I would not want to do that. Why would you want to do that? And it is kind of rough for the first couple of days. I'm not going to lie, especially in the hotter states, but because you can't have water. But the perception of being hungry after a few days is actually a good thing. Because why? It means you're doing it right. If you're fasting all day, you should be hungry. And your breath gets a little smelly, and this is something that people from this culture will understand. But it's like there's even like little funny jokes, and people make fun of each other. It's like, oh, let me smell your breath. Are you fasting? Like, are you cheating? So there's a totally different perception around hunger during that month within that culture. It's not a bad thing. It means you're doing the tradition right. So with that being said, a lot of people lose a lot of weight in Ramadan. I've seen it like 100 times throughout my life, and they're not struggling to do it. Same thing with a lot of other concepts, like the perception of the stress. Some people perceive hunger as stress. Now, don't get me wrong, if you don't eat for like a week, that's not good, but it's normal to feel hungry. And if hunger gives you so much stress that you're starting to freak out and get anxiety and get angry, like they say hangry, in the US, or you get irritable. That's not good. That's not good, because that means that you're almost kind of on the same page as someone who's addicted to food. And it's not because you're addicted to food, it's because you can't handle the stress of being hungry. And I personally feel that can be adjusted. That's kind of like a mental thing. And again, there's multiple reasons why that's the case and why people develop those types of perceptions of hunger and stress. But you can look at the same thing when you look at like work, for example, the perception of your stress level at work. I guarantee you, if you're quote unquote unhappy at work, you're stressed. Your coworkers stress you out. Maybe they don't help you as much as they should. You may be stressed out by your supervisor or your boss. The workload might stress you out. The type of work might stress you out. The boredom of the work might stress you out. But that perception, the people that are happy at work, I've noticed, like, for example, I've met people who are like really bummed out at work, and they like, let me say the other side. I've met people who have really boring like cubicle desk jobs, but they're really happy because they have a lot of stuff going on outside of work. So their perception of stress of at work is like, oh, I don't care, it's normal. I just want to put in my 9 to 5 and go home and play with my newborn baby. They're happy, because they got a lot of stuff going on. As opposed to someone who doesn't have a lot of stuff going on, and their perception of their stress at work is like, God damn it, this sucks. Like, again, it's like, if you feel like your work environment is a type of stress that really kind of puts you in a state of, like, I don't like this, it's probably not going to work out, and probably not going to excel. You're probably not going to get promoted. People are going to think you're weird or lazy, which is probably not the case. But if I had to put it like really, really cheesy and really simple, if you had to pick one of these two options, this is kind of cheesy, but just kind of, work with me. If you had to pick one of these two options, would you say that your feelings around your boss are fear-based or love-based? And again, I know that sounds corny, but if you think about it, love not in like an intimate way, love in a more of like a emotional way, like if you actually care about the business or the other coworkers, as opposed to fearing them and not wanting to disappoint them, or not wanting to get fired, or not wanting to get demoted, or et cetera, et cetera. Those are two completely different perceptions of when you're walking into the work. Just like hunger, if you're overweight, as opposed to someone who's skinny. You've all met skinny people. They don't eat shit all day and they'll have one burrito or something and they're good. It's not because they can't eat as much as other people. It's because they don't care if they're hungry as much. They're just like, whatever. We all know those people. But yeah, I was thinking about that a lot today. It's like this, how you think about the stress that you're gonna get every single day of your life literally is the definition of happy or unhappy. Because if you perceive anything, it's like if you have to walk your dog in the evening and that's like a stressful thing to you, because you're like, oh god damn it, I have to do it. If I don't do it, his hip's gonna get bad or whatever, like he's gonna get overweight. As opposed to no, I love my dog and I want to walk him and I want to walk. And it's a completely different mindset. But I've noticed it in so many of my friends and family, that just that little like shift in your thought, in how you perceive different stresses. I'm using that word a lot, stress, but it's not stress like you're freaking out. Stress is just something you feel when you're alive and you're living and you're going through things. But the way that you feel about the stress can totally change, your happiness and your level of happiness. And I don't know, but every time I meet people who are quote unquote more happy, they just get more shit done. Things are smoother. The people that, when you see someone at work that's crushing it, maybe like one of your coworkers, they're in that flow state. They know what they're doing. They don't have to ask other people or rely on other people. They're getting stuff done. I guarantee you they're not doing that because they're scared. They're not scared of getting fired. They're not scared of their coworkers beating them at stuff. They're actually doing it because they quote unquote love the idea, or they love the stress, because they know that they have maybe a more peaceful sense of like security. Like, okay, I know what I'm doing, and that can take time. But I know a lot of people it's weird, like on their first couple weeks of work, they're so nervous, and then obviously once you get more used to things, people get a lot more calm and relaxed. But there's absolutely nothing that's changed in the actual work. It's just your feelings around everything that's associated with the work. And again, that can either cause a lot of stress. Well, it's going to cause stress, but that stress can either be taken as a good thing or a bad thing, or not necessarily good or bad, just as something that's going to cause you to be in a state of, being scared or operating off of fear, or it's going to help you be like, oh no, okay, I can do this, I'm it's not a big deal. Like, and I should be feeling a little nervous because it's a new job, et cetera, et cetera. So it's just kind of how you think about it. But I've noticed that in so many people. Like I had, it's the same thing with loneliness. Like a lot of people will say, oh, I'm not happy because I'm lonely. Or there's codependency, or, girlfriends or boyfriends who are very needy. Same with husbands and wives, and they sabotage relationships. But again, it goes back to what's your perception of being alone, and why is that a bad thing? If someone can't sit and be alone in an apartment or a home, why? That's a question to ask. And it's like, why is that? Why am I getting anxiety about being alone? Similarly, it's like, people, like these kind of people usually need to be around people all the time. And it's not very efficient, because you can get a lot of shit done when you're alone. But if your perception of being alone, and again, this can come from culture. Like I knew people growing up, they going back to the food thing, but they would skip meals if they didn't have people to eat it with, because it was cultural. But again, then you're not going to eat, and then you're not going to perform well, et cetera, et cetera. So your perception of stuff, whether it's loneliness, hunger, work stress, all of that can either be seen in one of two ways. And if you see it in a way where it's not negative, where it's actually not a big deal, things are going to go smoother, way smoother. And this is something that I've realized in my personal life. But yeah, I was thinking about that a lot today. Just your perception of stress. And anything can give you stress, literally. You've all seen people have road rage, or when they're driving. Literally, like go look at someone who's like 30 minutes early to work. They have the same road and the same issues that you do when you're driving to work, and let's say you have 10 minutes to get there, and you're rushing, but you're going to perceive that journey and that commute as a lot more stressful than somebody who has 30 minutes to kill, and they're early, and they're probably going to chill in the parking lot and listen to music or listen to this podcast and walk in, right when it's right when they're on time. But you can literally apply this to anything. That's the cool thing about this concept of just like perceiving stress not in a bad way. Don't get me wrong. They even say that about like certain animals and stuff. Like they can sense that on you if you're scared of them, or if you're stressed out, as opposed to just being calm and chill. Animals can pick up on that. And probably so can humans. And especially in certain settings, that makes a big difference. People can tell if you're anxious or if you're stressed, and that can impact how they interact with you. I know some people that the way they behave can sometimes make me like stressed out, because I'm like, oh man, like this person's really stressed out. What's going on? So I think that's really like the big thing is like, why, if there's anything in your life that is causing you to not be as effective as you can be in any aspect, think about why you feel the way you do about that thing. Again, I think one of the easiest example is losing weight. And instead of people like going on all these crazy diets and CrossFit and all these exercise programs, and people spend so much money and go through so many lengths just to lose like 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds. But it's like, I bet you if you just sat them down or took them to the side and said, hey, what's going on when you feel hungry? Now, not starving, but like that's different. But like when you're hungry, because technically, I don't know, I think I remember in a biology class, you can go like a week and a half or 2 weeks without food. So logically and rationally, if you haven't eaten like breakfast or something and you're freaking out or you're upset, you can go 14 days without food. So why are you upset? There is some type of emotional connection maybe then to food that you need to work on or something, because then you're fucked. Even if you lose 50 pounds, it's going to come back as soon as something in your life gets you stressed. So I think this also kind of works similarly with I'm not like a doctor and I don't want to give any opinions that aren't true, but even people who may have like addictions or have a really tough time letting go of certain substances, it's a lot of times I found it's not necessarily that they're like, for sure they're doing it because they want the effects of the substance, but when they're not on the substance, that's when the issue happens. That's when they freak out. That's when they have anxiety. That's when they get stressed and they can't handle sobriety. So they go to the substance. It's not necessarily that they're super, super addicted to the high, which that's part of it, but then they get used to that. The big problem is that they can't handle the opposite. So again, it applies to that too. It can apply to a lot of things, but I don't know. I was just thinking about that a lot today, but man, I don't know how long I should make these podcasts. This is like 18 minutes, but I feel weird just talking by myself into the phone, but I think 15 to 20 minutes is probably a good length for now. I don't know. We'll see if I get more time to do these. If people actually start, engaging, and the people that subscribe and stuff, then can maybe beef it up to an hour or something, 30 minutes an hour. But I think this is probably a good length for now. But yeah, I'm also gonna start up like an email, try to start up some social media channels so you guys can interact and type, comments and questions. I'm gonna be starting hopefully a YouTube channel tonight that'll coincide with, all the podcast hosting. So that I like YouTube. I think it's just easier. All this podcast stuff confuses me, but I'm going to try to just throw this up on YouTube. And yeah, it's B-Chat Podcast. Thanks everyone for listening, and hope you got something out of it. And yeah, come back for the next one. Thanks.